what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we are doing the Taylor versus Lopez breakdown video, as Josh Taylor, the undefeated reigning WBO junior welterweight champion, former undisputed champion, defends his title against former unified lightweight champion of the world, Teofimo Lopez. They will fight Saturday, June 10th on ESPN. Now, before I get into this fight, if you guys could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I try to build my channel up here. And if there's something you don't like, go ahead and give me a thumbs down, or leave me a comment letting me know why. But normally in my breakdown videos, how these work is, in this case, it's a championship fight, so we break the whole thing down. First, I discuss what the fight means to the sport, the division, etc., like that. And then we get into each fighter individually, and I ask the same questions of each fighter. What kind of fight does it need to have? Can he win by knockout? Can he win by decision? What does a win mean? What does a loss mean? On both sides, I go into, what they've been doing rolling into the fight, all that kind of stuff. And I'll start with the champion, then work my way to the challenger. Then I will, at the end of the video, I will say, is it better for boxing if one or the other wins? And then finally, my prediction on the fight and who's gonna win. So let's get into it. This fight, what does it mean for the sport of boxing? What does it mean for the 140-pound division? Well, the sport of boxing itself, it's a big fight. These are two good-sized names in the sport fighting each other. And this is what boxing needs. It continues to need to have the best fighters fight the best. Josh Taylor, undefeated champion, former undisputed champion, looking to continue his reign as the top guy. And that's a place he's held since 2019, and then confirmed it in 2021. When he became undisputed champion. But he's looking to leave no doubt. Following his performance last year against Jack Catterall, there has been doubt. But Teofimo Lopez also has some doubt rolling into this fight. Ever since he moved up to 140, hasn't looked like the old Teofimo Lopez that upset Vasily Lomachenko and dominated Richard Comey. So we'll get into that, but it's a big fight between two big names that are hungry and trying to make a statement here. And I really can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good contrast of styles. And it's going to be interesting to see who pulls this one out. It really will. Now, let's start with the champion, the undefeated Josh Taylor. So Taylor coming in has only fought, well, one, he's been inactive since, I believe it was February of last year. So by the time he returns to the ring, it's going to be 16 months out of action. And all that, and it's almost a year and a half, but he hasn't been the most active fighter. His last 3 fights date back to 2020, so he's fought pretty much once per calendar year. The last time he fought twice in a year was in 2019 when he won the World Boxing Super Series, when he defeated he won the semifinals by defeating Ivan Berianchik. And then he won in the finals to unify belts and defeat Regis Prograis. But since then, in 2020, he stopped his mandatory challenger in the IBF, Kong Song something, who really didn't deserve to be there, stopped him with a body punch in the first round. Then in 2021, he made history, became the undisputed champion when he defeated fellow undefeated and unified champ Jose Ramirez by a decision, put him down a couple times, left no doubt in that one. That was impressive. And then in 2022, he had that setback fight where a lot of people feel he should have lost the split decision to undefeated Jack Catterall. And he did not, he came up lucky and got the victory in that fight. He even got put down in that fight and still walked away with a split decision and held on to his 4 belts. But since then, he's given up 3 of the 4 belts instead of making mandatories because he was trying to make the Catterall rematch happen. Finally, it didn't pan out, and the WBO ordered him to fight Teofimo Lopez here. So he hasn't been in a while now, in a couple years. That was the last great performance against Jose Ramirez. So Josh Taylor has something to prove since the Catterall fight last year. He's really got something to prove. He has to prove that he's the best here, facing off against Teofimo Lopez. He's 7 years older than Lopez, so he's definitely the veteran, but he's kind of a young 32 years old. So, you know, not coming in hot. Is he going to be rusty? We will see. What kind of fight does Josh Taylor need to have to defeat Teofimo Lopez? And I really think he needs to use his jab. And every time Teo throws, he needs to pop him with a jab. Every time he sees Teo trying to get off first, pop him with the jab and keep the jab flowing. He needs a box. Use that 2-inch height advantage. He's only got a 1-inch reach advantage, so not huge. But the southpaw style, he definitely needs to go back and look at what Sandor Martin did to Lopez. I think he's a little bit stronger than Martin. He's 19-0 with 13 knockouts. He's not the most powerful guy, but he sets his punches up well when he's at his best. And if he lands a perfectly timed shot, he might be able to hurt Teo. So, but he needs to do that. He needs to not allow Teo to get off those combinations. He needs to try to frustrate Teo to where Teo is throwing one punch at a time. If he can do that, I think he can keep him off, and he might be able to wear Teo down, and defeat him. So we shall see. Now, can Josh Taylor defeat Teofimo Lopez by a knockout? I don't know if he can beat him by a one-punch knockout. You know, Teo hasn't shown yet. We haven't seen him against great fighters with power or even good fighters with power at 140 to see if he can take shots. But generally, Teo can take punches. When he was fighting at 135, he didn't really seem like he ever got hurt. So going in against Taylor, I think it's more Taylor might be able to wear him down and stop him in the late rounds because he runs out of gas. But I don't know if he can beat him with one punch. But then again, I didn't think he could hurt Jose Ramirez either, and he did. So maybe he can stop Teo. I think it's more likely a decision. And that's the next question. Can he defeat Lopez by a decision? I think he can. I think he can outbox him and outwork him and get a decision. It could be close. He could win a solid decision, a convincing one. So, yeah, I think he can win that. What does a win mean for Josh Taylor here? Well, a win means a lot for Taylor. He really needs to win a fight against a top-name fighter. Yes, Teo, if he beats Teo, a lot of people are going to be like, well, Teo hasn't looked great, since he beat Lomachenko. And it's like, okay, that's valid. But Teo is still a big name. He's still a good-sized name. And if Taylor comes out and dominates or gets a victory, even a hard-fought win, he's going to gain a lot of respect holding on to his belt. And he's going to hold on to that top spot in the division and still be the marked man of 140. Hey, and you never know. He might be able to set himself up with a Terrence Crawford fight down the road if Crawford were to beat, Errol Spence, or he might be able to set himself up with fighting at 147 pounds, which is still a goal of his. So a win means a lot for Josh Taylor here. He really needs it. It really will leave no doubt who the top dog still is. Now, what does a loss mean for Josh Taylor? It really could hurt, but it also depends on how he loses, because he is fighting a highly skilled fighter in Teofimo Lopez. So I don't think a lot of people would be surprised if Lopez beats him in this fight. I certainly wouldn't be. So if Lopez were to catch him and hurt him or win a decision, I don't think that's going to hurt Taylor too much. He just is not going to be at the top of the division anymore, which is definitely going to hurt him. It'll be the first loss of his career, and that would be tough following the performance against Catterall. A lot of people will definitely have their doubts about Josh Taylor after that. Now we switch over to the challenger, the former unified lightweight champion of the world, Teofimo Lopez. And rolling into this fight, Lopez is not hot right now, His last three fights date back to November of 2021. So he has been active. He's fought 3 times in a year. By the time the fight happens, it's going to be 3 times in about a year and a half. So he's been active, and he's gotten his rounds in. But those 3 fights were back in November that year was when he lost all his belts to George Kambosos Jr. by that upset 12-round split decision. That was a tough one. He cited that it was the weight. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I personally think he was just overlooking Kambosos, and he was trying to get in there and rip Kambosos' head off and knock him out, and was looking for one punch at a time. But nonetheless, he lost the fight. He lost his titles. Then he moved up to 140 in 2022. He returned in August of 2022 and battled Pedro Campa, a veteran. Campa gave him a little bit of trouble, but he eventually broke him down, stopped him in the 7th round, and looked like he was back to his old form. Then he ran into Sandor Martin. He was supposed to fight Jose Pedraza, and he ran into Sandor Martin in, I believe it was November or December of last year. And that one wasn't so easy, and I called that. Martin is a solid, good boxer and a southpaw, and Lopez went out there and just seemed confused, went back to throwing one punch at a time, and didn't really seem like he could figure out Martin. And Martin really, it was a good fight. He was throwing more punches, but he wasn't landing cleanly, and he walked away with a close decision win, a controversial one too. Some people thought he lost, but it was close, and he escaped with the victory, and now has been ordered by the WBO to challenge Josh Taylor. So he's definitely not hot rolling in. A lot of questions abound, and a lot of people want to see how good he's going to be, and he has that chance right here. So what kind of style does Lopez need to have to win this fight? Well, if Lopez is smart, he will box, and he will be a consummate boxer puncher in this one, rely on his speed and his combinations, but he's got to be busy in this fight. He cannot allow Taylor to get a rhythm and continue to just box him and get into a groove. So he needs to try to beat on the body. I think body shots, left hooks to the body are going to be huge. Set up those shots to the head, get his way in. He's not too much smaller than Taylor. Taylor's 2 inches taller, 1 inch reach advantage, so it's not a huge advantage, but it is an advantage. So if I'm Tio, left hook to the body, jab, right hand down the middle, try to land that right hand, try to land it early and see how Taylor takes those punches, and use that 7-year age gap to try to break down the fighter that has been more inactive, and that is Taylor. So I really believe that if Tio can get Taylor into the late rounds, then he's got a shot and working the body. He might have a chance of pulling off the victory. Now, can Teofimo Lopez win this fight by knockout? You know what? I think he can. I think he can wear down Taylor and stop him late. And I really do believe he has that one-punch type power that if he catches Josh Taylor, that might be all she wrote. He might be able to hurt him with those quick combinations and that speed, and timing, and land a big punch and stop him. So I do think it's possible. Now, can Teofimo Lopez win a decision? I think he can, but here's the thing about Lopez. I don't think he can beat Taylor by a wide decision. I think if this goes to the scorecards, it's going to be close. I really believe that if Tio wins the fight. So that's my thing. I think he can win a decision, but it will be a close one if Tio gets the victory. So we'll see. Now, what does a win mean for Teofimo Lopez here? Well, it erases the Martin fight. It kind of erases that Kambosos fight. And it puts Teo right there at the top of the division with Prograis. And maybe even moves him past Prograis, to be honest. Depending on how he beats Lopez. A victory would mean everything. Especially if it's a convincing one. It would be better than or just as good as the Lomachenko win. Maybe a step behind, but because Lomachenko, bigger name than Taylor. But Taylor is the top dog at 140, no matter how he's done recently. And you really can't dispute that. I mean, the guy was the undisputed champ here and gave up his belt. So it's not like anybody beat him in the ring, even though a lot of people thought Catterall beat him. But again, I think Taylor was more overlooking Catterall than anything. And that's what I believe about Lopez with Kambosos. I think he was just overlooking the guy. So that's my opinion there. But a win means everything for Teofimo Lopez here. Now, what does a loss mean for Teofimo Lopez? A loss is really going to hurt Lopez. He's almost at, even though he's 25, a loss, especially a convincing one, really would bust Lopez down. I mean, if he gets knocked out, or if he just gets completely dominated and outboxed and loses a convincing decision, that's really going to push him down the list. I mean, he's still a big name. He'll still be able to come back, and he's young, but it's really going to take him out of that kind of upper tier, that Class A type fighter type scenario. And, you know, he's kind of going to get bucked down. So, yeah, a loss would really hurt Teofimo Lopez here, especially if it's a convincing one. But a close loss, not as much. He's young. He's a big name. So we just got to wait and see. So now, all that being said, is it better for boxing if Josh Taylor wins this fight, or is it better for boxing if Teofimo Lopez wins this fight? And I'll be honest, it's probably better for boxing if Lopez wins. Now, Josh Taylor, on a global level, outside of the United States, probably the bigger name, slightly. But he's also 32. We don't know how much he's got. We don't know how long he's even going to be in this division, to be honest, because he beats Lopez. He will have beaten pretty much every top dog in this division, unless he waits around for Haney or those guys, you know. And you know, it's just, I just think it's better if Lopez, for boxing, if Lopez wins this fight. He's younger, he's got maybe a more fun style, got more power, that makes him more attractive, and he talks a lot of shit. So, and he's got 7 years, you know, age difference with Taylor, to where Teo's going to be around longer. So I do think it's better for boxing, maybe not so slightly. I think it's better for boxing if Teofimo Lopez wins this fight. Now, my prediction, though, on this fight. Who do I think is going to win between Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez? God, this is a tough one. I do think it's close to 50-50, but I really believe Taylor is going to win this fight. I don't know why. I mean, well, I do know why. I have my reasons, obviously. But ever since the matchup was made, and even before it was, and he was just like an option floating out there, I felt like Taylor was just better right now than Teo. Teo hasn't impressed me in his last 3 to 4, even a fight with Lomachenko, even though a lot of people are going to be like, oh, he beat Lomachenko. Okay. But outside of that 12th round, I felt like it was more Teo won that fight more based on what Lomachenko wasn't doing as opposed to what Teo was doing. So I haven't really been impressed with them since the second round knockout over Comey. The Cambosos fight, he was looking for one punch at a time. Lomachenko was kind of one punch at a time. Pedro Campa was like, all right, whatever. And Sandor Martin was kind of, you know, it was a lackluster performance. So Teo has not impressed me. And he's going in against a guy who looked great against Jose Ramirez 2 years ago. And yes, it has been 2 years, but everybody knocked him over Catterall. But Catterall, I think he was widely overlooking Catterall because Catterall hadn't done shit yet. You know, he wasn't a name. He was just a mandatory challenger. And I think Taylor widely overlooked him. And I think that kind of pissed him off because he did want the rematch because a lot of people were giving him and his family shit. And then the rematch didn't happen. And so now I think he's going to come into this one hungry. I think he wants to reestablish himself as the top guy in the division and leave no doubts. And I just think he's going to outwork Teo and beat him. But I am not 100% confident in this pick. You know, I'm confident in my picking ability, but I really believe Teofimo Lopez can win this fight. I really do. Teo has the skill, he has the power, and he could catch Taylor and hurt him. And I don't think Teo would have taken this fight if he didn't truly believe that he could win this fight. I think Teo wants the best. I think he wants to prove himself. I think he's hungry and pissed off as well. And it's going to make an interesting fight on June 10th. So, Taylor, by a decision, could be close. Teo could win a decision, a close one. And I think either guy might be able to stop the other guy just based on styles. So we will see what happens Saturday, June 10th on ESPN. This is the Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez breakdown video for their 140-pound junior welterweight title fight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.